What happens back a live TV account actually block off the rails. What you're about to see is one of the best fiery, capricious exchanges anytime captured on air. Every advance to accommodate the anarchy alone throws added ammunition on the fire. This isn't your boilerplate political Q&A. It's a blast advance and how fast a calm altercation can collapse into complete beat-em. Accomplish abiding you subscribe and allotment your thoughts because you won't acquire how this unfolds. The ABC account flat bashed with its accepted pre-show accepted as George Stephanopoulos got adequate in his chair. Opposite him sat Donald Trump. The cameras weren't alive yet, but the air was blubbery with tension. Trump adapted his tie, leaned back and let a sly beam comedy beyond his face while scanning the setup. "You know, George, I've consistently admired you," Trump said, his accent according genitalia, agreeableness, and warning. "We go way back, but I apprehend you've got some boxy ones accessible for me tonight." George confused his notes befitting his able calm. "We're aloof activity to acquire a conversation, Mr. Trump. The American bodies deserve to apprehend a nod from you." "The American bodies adulation me," George added, "than anyone in history, maybe. But the affected account crowd, they can't angle it." Trump's eyes narrowed. "But you're not affected news, right, George? We're friends." The attic manager's 30C second-owned admonishing cut through the moment. Both men straightened in their seats. George, austere his throat, bound eyes with the camera and the red ablaze blinked on. "Good evening. I'm George Stephanopoulos, and tonight we're abutting alive in our New York flat by above Admiral Donald Trump. Mr. Trump, acknowledgement for coming. Great to be here, George. Consistently a pleasure. Though I've got to say, your ratings lately, awful. Maybe accepting me on will advice fix that." George apprenticed forward, blank the jab. "Let's alpha with the latest in your acknowledged troubles. You've consistently claimed innocence, but critics altercate your behavior has been erratic. How do you acknowledgement that?" Trump's affable affectation alone in an instant. His accent sharpened. "Erratic? You appetite to apperceive what's erratic, George. A amends arrangement hijacked by political enemies. A media apparatus pumping out lies day afterwards day. And maybe your allotment of that now. I can't be sure, but Mr. Trump, these are allowable affairs with board and juries." George countered. "Lawful," Trump snapped. "There's annihilation allowable about witch hunts. Board ample with conflicts. Juries pulled from places brainwashed by years of affected news. That's not justice. That's corruption." George leaned in, blame back. "That's a huge charge. Are you adage American courts can't be trusted? I'm adage aback amends aeroembolism to politics. We've got a austere crisis, George. And you apperceive it. You aloof won't address it honestly." Barely 5 account in, Trump was visibly formed up, easily flying, articulation rising, his brand riffs spilling faster and louder. George sensed the about-face and apprenticed harder. "Let's allocution about 2020. You still assert the acclamation was stolen, admitting dozens of courts, including ones led by your own appointees, adage otherwise. Why should voters assurance edition who won't acquire accepted results?" Trump's face ablaze red. "There it is. The antic set up. Invite me here. Butter me up, afresh cull out the aforementioned affected talking points. These aren't facts, George. They're lies. These are rulings, not talking points," George replied firmly. Trump barked a absinthian laugh. "Facts? I'll accord you facts. Ballot agriculture on a massive scale, dead voters, irregularities in every beat state. And yet your arrangement refuses to blow it because it assault up your narrative." George backward steady. "Acclamation admiral from both parties, alike your own citizenry Aegis team, alleged it the best defended acclamation in U.S. history. My citizenry Aegis team." Trump's articulation absurd with anger. "Half my administering was arranged with abysmal accompaniment backstabbers. You anticipate I trusted all of them? They were adjoin me from day one." By the 10-minute mark, the ascendancy allowance aggregation was exchanging abashed glances. This was declared to be a calm 30-minute sit-down, but it was already sliding into meltdown. "So, you accept you amidst yourself with bodies you didn't trust?" George pressed. No, I'm adage Washington is a swamp. And aback you try to cesspool it, the swamp fights back. They lie, they leak, they betray. Alike bodies abutting to me angry out to be snakes. But doesn't that reflect on your judgment? That was the breaking point. Trump's eyes austere, and he jabbed a feel beyond the table. My judgment. My acumen congenital skyscrapers. My acumen created the arch-abridgment in history. My acumen anchored borders and accord abroad. What has your acumen done, George? Besides, bore your ratings. The account had angry from accepted Q&A into article raw, unpredictable. George kept his composure. Years of training, captivation him steady. But Trump wasn't aloof answering anymore. He was advancing the actual foundation of the interview. Mr. Trump, we're actuality to allocution about issues that amount to Americans. George tried. If you're re-elected, what are your priorities? Priorities? Trump sneered. Come on, George. You don't affliction about that. You affliction about clicks, ratings, and ambushing me like I'm some rookie. I've been arena this bold best than you. I perceive every trick. This isn't about tricks. It's about accountability, George said. You fabricated promises as president. Some weren't kept. Don't voters deserve an explanation? Trump's beam was aciculate and cold. Accountability? Area, was castigation aback you were alive for the Clintons? Area, was it aback your arrangement pushed the Russia hoax for years? We appear developments as they happened. George countered. Lies. Trump airtight the table, awkward glasses. Calculated lies meant to abort me and this country. The aggregation froze. The administrator and the ascendancy allowance coiled aimlessly to accumulate rolling. This was a live TV history unfolding. George steadied himself. Let's attending ahead. You're active again. What would you change if elected? What would I change? Trump thundered. I wouldn't decay time with networks like yours. You abhorrence me, you abhorrence America. Don't abjure it. We don't abhorrence America, Mr. Trump. Trump the temp to his feet, Ariel over George. You breach bottomward America every day. You acclamation aback it stumbles. You ancillary with our enemies. Sir, amuse sit aback bottomward so we can abide professionally. George insisted. Professionally? Trump scoffed. Your activists with columnist passes, annihilation more. The flat air was suffocating. Production administration aside into headsets. Borderline whether to cut abroad or let the alternation bones run. Mr. Trump, these are abundant accusations, George pressed. Do you actually acquire journalists are enemies of the people? Backbiting ones, absolutely. Trump sat bottomward again, still seething. And appropriate now, George, your actuality, actual dishonest. How am I actuality backbiting by allurement absolute questions? Because you're not asking. Your authoritative accusations. Your blame narratives. Afresh set the almanac straight. Accord us your side. My side. I've been giving it for years. But bodies like you aberration it. Cut it. Spin it. Consistently to accomplish me attending bad. We're alive appropriate now. No edits. This is your adventitious to allege anon to Americans, George said. Trump glanced at the camera, aback, canonizing the audience. That's right. We are live. So anybody at home can see how biased George is. Attending at him. Invites me here, afresh tries to abort me. This is affected account and action. Amuse accumulate your focus here, George said. Why? Because it's your show. Because you appetite to ascendancy what admirers hear. Trump kept his beam bound on the lens. Folks, this is why I alarm them affected news. They don't appetite you to see how they operate. Sir, this is irregular. Aberrant is a Clinton aide assuming as an cold journalist. Trump attempt back. The band landed like a grenade. George clenched his jaw. My almanac speaks for itself. I've broiled leaders from both parties the aforementioned way. Trump scoffed. You never went afterwards, Obama. You never formed Hillary about her emails. But with me, every question's an attack. That's not true. It's actually true. And anybody watching knows it. The account was no best an interview. It was a bound over who controlled the narrative. Let's beacon aback to absolute issues. Healthcare, economy, security, George approved again. They matter. Sure, Trump said. But how can we allocution action aback your questions are advised as traps? At the 20-minute mark, both men glared beyond the table. The allowance vibrated with tension. This wasn't political amphitheater anymore. It was a live battle. You apperceive what, George? Trump's accent alone low, about dangerous. Maybe we should allocution about your record. The absolute one, not the able version. Let's break on issues, George urged. Fine, let's allocution about how you helped awning for Bill Clinton. How you avert the enactment you've served your accomplished life. That's apocryphal and out of line, George snapped, his able affectation cracking. My job is to ask adamantine questions, Trump smirked. Adamantine questions for Republicans, softballs for Democrats. That's your job. George's backbone was fraying. High amusement, every baby kisser the same. Lie and you apperceive it, Trump barked, continuing again. He circled the table, looming. Should I acquaint admirers what you've said abreast about Republican voters? Mr. Trump, sit down, George demanded. You'll cut my mic and the show. That's what you do. Aback you lose control. Trump leaned against the camera from abaft George. See, folks, this is the scam. Shut it bottomward aback they can't win. Aegis confused uneasily at the studio's edge. The administrator was agreeable into his headset. This behavior is inappropriate, George said, abrupt to accumulate authority. Inappropriate? You assuming to be aloof is inappropriate, Trump snapped. I've interviewed presidents from both parties with the aforementioned standards. Standards? You never apprenticed Obama. You never pushed Hillary. But with me, it's attack, attack, attack. That's not how I operate. It is, and America knows it. By now, George's accord was cracking. Trump analysis it apprenticed harder. I could appearance the emails, the texts. Proof your aggregation coordinates with Democrats. George went pale. Put that away. Afraid of sunlight? George, afraid of the truth. Trump coiled his phone. This has abundant to bore your career. You're bluffing. Trump grinned. Try me. The ascendancy allowance panicked. They couldn't cut now. Admirers would never absolve it. George faced the camera ablaze with anger. This, ladies and gentlemen, is why autonomous institutions are beneath threat. Leaders' abstention, accountability with intimidation. Accountability? Trump roared. Let's analysis your coverage. Count the abrogating stories, the interruptions, the slanted framing. We're done, George snapped, tugging off his mic. No, we're not done. Trump growled, avaricious George's wrist. You allurement me for 25 minutes, and now you appetite to walk. Let go, George said through clenched teeth. Trump appear him but leaned close. Don't comedy boxy guy if you can't handle advance back. This account is over. No, George, it's aloof accepting started. For once, your adverse addition who won't fold. The two men bound eyes in silence. Cameras kept rolling, capturing every baby of what would become the best atomic account in advertisement history. Neither blinked. Neither moved. And that's area we'll leave it. What do you anticipate would acquire happened next? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't balloon to subscribe for added behind-the-scenes belief about what actually happens. Aback the cameras are on. Did Trump cantankerous the band, or was Stephanopoulos allurement for